Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry for the slow start. I've been dashing from one requirement to the next and probably not as focused as I otherwise would be, but here we are. So obviously today is January 27, 2020, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, and meeting of the U.S. National Grid Implementation Work Group. I would like to, if I could, is there anyone joining us for the first time? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, so I think we will look to see, I'm just running down the list here. Looks like I'll be able to record everybody off the screen. Who do we have that's joined us by telephone? I got an 850 number and 425 number.
Joseph is joining by phone.
Okay, Joseph by phone. And then who's the other?
Georgiana.
Hey, Georgiana, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That guy from Iowa ever reach out to you?
No.
Okay. He's doing walkability study for the town in Iowa, and I kind of gave him you as a lead.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe if you could send us the information to me.
Yep, I'll do that.
Okay.
We can do that easy. Okay. Introductions is needed. I guess everybody knows each other, so that's a good thing. Are there any additions, deletions, things you'd like to do different on the agenda? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay. We're going to consider the agenda good to go. And just a reminder about the mute function. I recorded a meeting for the underground utilities work group, and I had somebody left it on mute, unmute, and every time their computer clicked, their face became the predominant thing on the screen in the recording. So just a reminder, if you're not chatting at the time, please make sure you're muted. Thank you very much. Administration stuff, we'll move right into the schedule. The administration piece, right now we've got, I don't know how to describe this other than say my mom passed away in October, and I've been jumping through hoops, just trying to keep things going, and all of that stuff there that's up there for the administrative stuff for this group, again, has got put on delay. I apologize, and I'll do my very best to finally get that thing pushed through, because I know as a point of emphasis for a group, until you start seeing something that looks a little bit more polished, people don't take you quite as seriously as they should. So I realize that's an important piece, and I'll do my best to get that thing move forward and go forward from there. The two outreach piece, we'll start with, Georgiana, I think you can best tackle those first two, if you would, please. You sent me a note about Fennis Reed's going to be at the American Association of Geographers in April, and he's scheduled.
Fennis is he's on the call.
Oh, okay. I did not. Oh, yep. There you are, Fennis. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all doing?
Hey, we're pretty excited about, that's a very prestigious group that you're going to be talking to, the AAG, and so fabulous that you'll have a piece in there. So why don't you go ahead and chat about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. We don't necessarily have the date yet because, they're replanning everything to be all online. But for those of you who don't know, I'm working with the California Department of Finance with their demographic research group. And my specific area of interest is more in small area estimation. So very frequently we end up putting out all of these different estimates and whatever that are controlled to either the county or the city level. But very frequently, we'll have more private interest groups contacting us wanting population estimates at smaller scales. So really my whole corner of the world is just trying to figure out how can we take some of these larger scale estimates and apply them over smaller areas to better inform people. So with the help of some awesome literature that Georgiana has published, and also some other work from World Pop, I'm working on kind of combining a couple of different methodologies to be able to produce some of these different estimates. A couple of different problems that we end up running into with that has a lot to do with confidentiality, because we do end up using a lot of private stakeholder information into how I'm producing these different estimates. So we can't just like take parcel level data or building footprint level data and just throw that out into the world and say, hey, you know, go have fun, good luck. That can be pretty dangerous. So we end up using more of a gridded approach for most of our work here. So using the USNG is kind of a very easy entryway into that. Saves us a lot of trouble with doing projections over very, very large areas, because more often than not, I'm trying to process the entire state in some of these different passes. And conic area projections are fine, but there's still a little bit of distortion you can see towards the southern end. Yeah, and so my real hope is, as I am including more of this USNG component into my work, that eventually we'll be able to have this as part of our primary deliverable that we end up posting on our website, where you have sort of like a little web applet or something like that, where you can sort of zoom in and zoom out and have the scale kind of adjust to some of these different units as you go. So all a big work in progress, but glad to be using it.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Georgiana, you fill the folks in on you're on YouTube.
I never thought I'd be on YouTube.
But you
It wasn't
are.
my choice. They videoed me and put it on there. But that video that is on YouTube was our local GIS annual conference that we have in Tallahassee every year. And this year with the pandemic, it was virtual. So what I'm talking about here is how to make some of these bivariate and multivariate maps. So it's cartographic in nature. And in the past, I've shown a lot of these maps, but I never told anybody how to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a rush through, because there's a lot of things going on there. And I guess it was clear, at least I didn't go over time or anything, but what I would like to do with this is turn it into a PDF and just make like a little ebook out of it, so that people can look through and see what's possible and what type of GIS skills do they need. So oh, and another thing, I am asked to be a guest speaker to an urban and regional planning GIS class in March, and so I'll be representing this to about 30 students.
Nice.
So I think that's about it.
I would interject. I really think one of our shortcomings right now is getting the academic world, particularly in the college communities, to at least open the door to the existence of U.S. National Grid in presentations, because it continually amazes me to talk to some of these graduate students and they're like clueless. So anything that can be done to help spread the word, not just only in the emergency response world, but in the academic world, is greatly encouraged. So big kudos to both Finis and Georgiana for their efforts. So thank you. There's I guess it's a 3-person team is going to attack Wisconsin Land Information Association meeting. Their annual conference is taking place next month, February 15th through the 19th. They just released the refined schedule with actual times on it, and we'll get better clarity on when those things are going to go down. Randy and BJ are going to do a tag team on a 3-hour workshop with Randy hitting kind of the intro and the mapping piece, and BJ is going to hit the emergency management world piece. And then once the conference moves into their formal presentation schedule, Randy will again to the assembled masses that are interested, do a 1 hour intro on US National Grid, and I'll do a 1 hour piece on emergency location markers. All I can say is I've been busier than a one-arm paper hanger with emergency location markers and related USNG efforts. Starting 2 weeks ago, we did all the processing, and currently right now for Cobb County, there's 845 elms in production, and that is a range of product that goes from the vertical ELM to the standard signs to specialty signs that were created for the National Park Service. They're getting more interested, and these will incorporate a combination of the National Park Service and Cobb. And one of the things that kind of follows through on some of the work that we did with Al done in Florida for the projects there, but this is a major national park, battlefield park, second most visited national battlefield park. I think it's just short of 2 million visitors a year. So it's a big deal for us to be able to get that level of visibility out there. BJ, why don't you jump in here with in correcting my misperception on this issue of Ashland, Bayfield, and Sawyer. Apparently it's only Bayfield and Sawyer counties. BJ will be doing a presentation to them on February 4th. So floor is yours, BJ.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, the contact for this was Carmen Novak, the Wisconsin Land Association, and she sent me contacts in Bayfield and Sawyer County in Wisconsin, which is up in Superior, Wisconsin, just next to Minnesota. I did not see Ashland on there, but it is a contiguous county, so it would be great if they were involved. Mm-hmm. And they are having an inter-county trail signage group meeting. They have had meetings previously already, so that's interesting. But that will be next Thursday, February 4th, and I've been invited just to join them and see what they're up to. One of the questions is the signs. Of course, they're looking at ordering some ELM signs, but maybe not from shared geo. So we're going to look into what their sign options are.
Yep.
And also things on the agenda are other trails throughout the region, how they can coordinate things like the Birkebeiner, the longest, I think, ski race, or one of the big ski races in the United States. And then also encouraging people from other counties. So it sounds like Northwestern Wisconsin is getting very interested. Some of their sheriff's emergency managers, the Birkebeiner, the bike trail, they have a big bike trail there group that covers at least 2 counties or more. And so we're hoping we can make some inroads on there and help them out a bit.
That'd be wonderful. BJ, do you know Brian? Oh, he's getting ready to walk away. Do you know Brian much?
I do not. I know that Brian was on the last call, but I would like to make contact with him. I'm not sure if...
yeah, I want to introduce the two of you. So Brian is the chair of the Wisconsin State Trails Council. And Brian, I'll shut up because I probably have mutilated it already, but should we do an email connect on you two, or what do you want to do?
Sounds good to me.
Brian, you all in?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Randy, if you'd click on that Dallas County, Iowa thing.
I need to change my sharing to the whole screen here. You see that?
Yeah, there we go. Got it. Okay, so it takes a little while. They've got this thing on an extremely slow server, and this is the display that comes out of the Iowa State EOC. And so just stop right there. You zoomed in, back out a little bit. Okay, so what's going on? Dallas County, Iowa sits on the western edge of Des Moines. And they have approached us because the problem they've run into is that the original product, the USNG display system that ShareGeo built for them with the associated mapping product, they run into this issue of the western side of Des Moines has grown out very rapidly in that direction, and they've gone from being a rural county to now being this mix of rural and dense urban. And so they've come to us and they're asking questions about what can we do about setting up our own version of this with the ability for the sheriff at any time to download updated maps and us to be able to keep it current. And the reason I mention this is because it struck me with like a lightning bolt while talking to this gal, because she knew she needed to do something, but she didn't know exactly what she wanted to do, nor did she grasp on how, as a GIS person with limited understanding of US National Grid, to talk to her sheriff to help the two of them develop the, if you will, RFP for a product like this, because it came down to how accurate do you want the product? What are your data sources that you want displayed? All those sorts of things that need to be a level of engagement on talking through this. And so what it suggested to me is one more project onto the list, which amounts to figuring out how to develop a short to the point document that will help a GIS person talk through this subject with their response community, whoever is going to foot the bill for the project. And the other thing I came back to her, said, well, we designed the whole thing for it to be a self-help project. There's supporting documents and all that other stuff. And the answer came back, we're too overrun for us to be doing it. We just want somebody to package it up, give it to us, and be done with it. So kind of a sense of the hurdle out there that still currently exists. Okay, you can close that one out, Randy. Thank you. I can't even pronounce it, but I know I want to go panning gold there. Lumpkin County. Daryl Mitchell's tuned in. Did I say it right? Okay, gives him thumbs up. So Randy's been working with them to get them up and running on some of their product efforts. And then we got a cats and dogs routine, multiple different counties, whatever, calling in, asking questions. And one of the ones that's furthest down the line right now is St. Croix County, Wisconsin.
Can I just back up to
Sure.
Lumpkin County?
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry, Randy.
What's your affiliation with Martin Durand?
With who?
I was working with Martin Durand
Yeah.
at Lumpkin County.
Nothing more than he contacted ShareGeo direct and said, hey, we want to do US National Grid here. Can you help us get started? And,
Right. I'm just wondering what we have a representative from Lumpkin County in the meeting?
No, we don't. But Daryl Mitchell's probably about he's in the adjoining county. And
that's Cobb County?
No, Cherokee County is Daryl.
Okay.
That's correct, isn't it? Okay.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering what the connection was there.
And the interesting thing about where Daryl's headed is he's a muckety muck, a high muckety muck in the response community in Georgia. And he's very interested in trying to do what he can do to facilitate things moving forward down there. So Daryl, do you want to chime in with anything at this point?
Yeah. And I can just say that in the conversation. Okay. I don't think he has audio.
Got sound.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
So I was just going to say that when I talked to Martin, he already had a set of maps and that he was creating. And my first instructions to him was, well, just put a grid on them. You know, he used the bingo grid for his map pages. And really the scale that he's using isn't conducive to what I've done in the past. But my first direction to him was put a grid on your maps and make it US National Grid compliant. He's using a much kind of an intermediate scale. But that's a real easy first step for him. But he's really taking his cues from the larger counties that are already implementing this stuff, specifically because they have a lot of recreating that is available and is used by people that come out of Atlanta. So that's really what he's trying to do.
Okay. And again, thank you for the follow-up with him. Greatly appreciate it.
And I'll be talking to him some more too.
Okay. And then as BJ is well tuned into, St. Croix County has both interest in the GIS department and in their sheriff's department. So we're trying to nudge that one along and see where we can get that one going. USNG store continues to sit there and bake. There's so much that we could do with that, but there's only so much time in a day. I think that finishes up for outreach. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to add to that? Going once. Oh, come on. Those guys in Washington, D.C. have to have been up to something.
This is Mary Susan. I'll do an outreach.
Okay. What do you got?
All right. In your inboxes at the last moment will be an RFI that has come out looking for recommendations on data standards for the data needed to run systems to support pandemics. And I apologize. It looks like the due date is 2 days from now. One of the sponsors is NASA, comes out through OGS. I've only had a chance to see it briefly, but I did want to throw it out in front of this group simply because you should know this kind of thing's in play. We all know that when I talked about this from my source, Alan's a great guy. He runs Gizmo, which is the GIS group down in New York City. They're the COVID group in New York, that GIS COVID group in New York that's been participating. Everybody's totally obsessed with street addresses and the difficulty of getting that right and how that's flowing poorly through the whole COVID information system to who's got it, where is it, where are the outbreaks. So I just wanted to share the RFI. It's come out of that group. It looks like NASA's and OGS is involved, and they're address obsessed. And I know that this group appreciates the fact that addresses are absolutely essential in urban environments because they can tell where a person is inside a building if you get it right, right? It's not just on the ground. And it's a good way to do vertical. However, we know that we don't have street addresses for very important places, which is, at least from what I can figure out, at least a quarter of the places New York State is running vaccination sites don't have street addresses, right? They're just parking lots. They're not a place.
Yep.
So you've got where are the drugs stored? How do they get around? I think there's a role for USNG to participate in this RFI, but as most of you know, I'm a newbie to this group and I come into it from a fixed asset management perspective, which why I have a sensibility about not everything has a street address, like most of us transportation people and DOT people know. So you'll find it, anybody who got this invitation for today's meeting will have a copy of that RFI. I apologize, this is a really bad pass, but I did think it was important for this group to see that kind of information and positional and location information was being requested. So thank you, and that's my offering for today's meeting.
Thank you very much, Mary Susan. Really appreciate that. I'm sorry, Doug, I'm going to throw you under the bus.
Yeah, I was getting ready to jump in. Jules was going to be joining us. He did tell me he was going to be joining late, but from anything going on inside the Beltway here as it relates to, part of the efforts that we were pushing a year ago and Federal Radio Navigation Plan and having U.S. National Grid reflected in there. I mean, that's a document that's out there, but hasn't been anything from my perspective. I know that Jules spoke last phone call about some rescue cases that took place here where it would have been real beneficial for coordination across county and various first responders to have the U.S. National Grid as a way. But other than that, nothing else to add from a DC perspective right now.
Okay, Doug, though, I'm gonna put a bug in your ear.
Okay.
You just heard Mary Susan speak. Mary Susan may actually know, or how do I want to say this? People in New York City who have done geospatial work that might actually know the new FEMA director. Because she's coming down from New York City, from what I understand. So just a thought that, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna take my mute off. We'll see how the network works. I think that might be possible, but this RFI doesn't source from FEMA. It sources from OGS.
No, I get that, but my point was that I know that Steve Polacki, I believe that's how you say his last name, that has joined us before. He used to be the lead GIS person for the New York City Fire Department.
Polakov.
Thank you very much. And my point is that there may be others that you work with, Mary Susan, that may have had some contact, and I'm remiss in not knowing her name, but she's the former emergency manager for New York City, and she's headed towards being the director of FEMA. So it's just kind of an awareness item that perhaps maybe we've got some folks that might already have her ear.
I will do the research and I will find out our kinship pattern.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Well, let me-
no, the GIS folks, if she's had any relationship with the all right. So how many, I know you're all emergency management, USNG, and you do GIS, but do you guys come up through the GIS side? It's hard for me to know, but I say this only because the New York City GIS guys are the ones that work through the city and work 9/11.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the reality
So-
is the folks that are on this phone call or this Zoom meeting are the biggest collection of cats and dogs you're ever going to run into. I mean,
Well, that everybody in GIS is like that. That's why I love us,
yeah,
because there are skill sets that you can't imagine just in a room. So now, if we were to get to this FEMA person, what would we want to ask?
well, I think it's not about asking. It's more about the issue of continuing to build on what's already happened at FEMA. And the more that it becomes a defined standard within DHS, while as we well know from Bruce's presentation, we've got lots of folks out there running around trying to, if you will, cut the process off at the knees by pushing their corporate products of Google Plus codes or place key or map code or so
With
on
3
and so forth.
words, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that has come up as a priority with the COVID participants, the GIS COVID participants in New York State, is that one of the good things, and this maybe the DC people can fill us in on, Within the last year or so, there was a rule change that if there was a standard out there, somebody had to use it and not invent their own. And
Right.
this was for federal projects. I haven't had a chance to dig into the P's and Q's on this, but I understand that's now happening at the federal level. When I asked our New York State GIO, was that true for New York State? His response was, I wish it were. So now you get down to my county level guys that are trying to even work with their county level health departments on COVID. And everybody's saying, we don't have the same data standards. We can't aggregate our data, play with it the way that Venice wants to play with it, right? We can't do the analysis because it doesn't integrate. So they want standards. They want standards at the state level so that the DOHs are all the same, so that the local county guys can consume that information and reliably put it out back to the communities, and in particular to their sheriffs, because it's the sheriffs who start to be very interested in where unruly things are happening for all sorts of reasons. So data standards, maybe this is kind of one of those don't waste a crisis moments. If we can get USNG linked into data standards that are linked into the ability to meet these national level events, and we do it because we all sign up and say, whether it's Iowa or New York, we want to use the national standard, and the national standard just happens to be USNG.
I like the way you think. All right.
Made in America, dudes. Made in America. So I don't know. I know in New York, for the New York State GIS Association, I'm picking up the legislative committee. Our first effort will be totally, you'll love this. We still don't have a reliable way to make sure we get tax parcel data aggregated up to the state level, right? So we have parcel information that can be shared out. So,
I see
okay.
the smirk on Randy's face.
Yeah, well, you've got this problem, I'm guessing. So at any rate, we're really good in the trenches, guys. And whether the trenches at the local level or agency level, I don't know. I'm just thinking this may be a time to break out. So I'm pitifully offering this RFI, right? But I'm saying that's probably going in the direction that we need to. And I wish I had more experience, but that standardization of schema and data exchange at the federal level, and then get everybody to follow along and say, yes, we know how to belong to a standards body. And if we need to amend that schema, there's a very easy way to do that. It'll take a little while, but you start someplace, it becomes the standard. You change manners as needs must, right, as you go forward. But you got to start with the serve from the left, remove from the right. And I don't think that changes by state, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mary Susan. Food for thought.
Thank you for my rant.
Yeah, we love it though. We'll give you a soapbox. You can do it anytime. Okay, here we go. Moving on to technical. We actually have started to do the first item there, which was a goal of finish the rework of the USNG Center mapbook page in the uploader. That project's underway. For those of you that weren't tuned into it, we're still got to do some polish. There's been feedback from Esri on something that they would like to see tweaked on that next item down there, which was the release of the magnetic declination diagram. And for those of you that wonder why that's a big deal, is what it does is it facilitates the generation of a correct declination diagram as part of a batch process run for a map series. For instance, Randy, I'll shut up and you can chime in here with a little bit, but when Randy did the run for the entire state of Minnesota, and when we did the run for Iowa and so forth, that's now enabled so they can be done automatically, which otherwise would be a pain in the patootie. Randy, you want to add something?
Well, yeah, I mean, the service is great, and it was designed to automate the process of creating a magnetic declination diagram dynamically as you create a map series. So you just fire it off, and you can construct the URL to call this service that creates the unique diagram for each map, and it's great. That's what we really needed. Now the feedback, I'm afraid the guy kind of missed the point.
Oh, that's an
Didn't really
understatement, but
understand
that's
that.
okay.
But what he was saying is, oh, I've got to sit here and twiddle around with this URL to create a magnetic declination diagram. Why don't you give me a form for it? And I scratched my head and I thought, well, that's not hard. So I threw together that little form. That was no big deal. I
Yeah,
don't think he really understood how HTML forms work, but it does provide another way of using that service to create a single declination diagram. I dug around on the web. There's nothing like that either.
yeah.
So
Well,
that's a good thing. It's a minor enhancement. The thing works great. It's a
yeah,
minor enhancement to help people identify with what it does. So that's great.
Yeah, Jim had already done one up, and there was a parallel conversation that you came into late on the backside. We'd already sent him the form, but the issue there is it's kind of sad to think that when we got the level of questions we got back from him, and he's the head of Esri Education. I'm like, seriously? But anyway, but it's good. It's good that we've got engagement with him, and it's good that he's going to help put forward the word. So those are both win-wins. So
he's got a website out there with a bunch of cute little topic areas that he presents on and stuff. So that's fine.
Randy, can you click on the next link down? We're running a little behind, but I do want everybody to see this. And again, if you keep it short, why don't you show them what was done with MinSave, with incorporating U.S. National Grid stuff into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, really
Sidebar.
for showing, huh?
Jump over into the sidebar first.
Okay.
Pull it all the way down to the bottom.
All right. So there's a map. I created a map service out there that has all of these 10K squares, and you simply click on one, and then it has the hyperlink to go and get the map for Minnesota. So all the maps for Minnesota are in there, and you can do it. One is for aerial, and one is for a street map. So I had created an application to do this, but this is all done through web services. So when I started thinking about MinSave, it's like, well, this can be included right here as a layer. So, and anybody else could do the same thing. But then we had a request. Somebody else wanted to be able to include those same services in their own application or in desktop GIS. And so we included the information about that here, both as a WFS OGC compliance service or as an Esri REST service. And when you go there, it just shows you this is the information about the service, and you can simply connect to that. So it gives people the opportunity to integrate with their own applications. So I think anybody else can do the same thing for their maps. Now, Steve mentioned the other application that's hosted on USNG Center, where anybody can essentially publish, not really, I guess, make the application aware of maps that they have available on the web by providing the appropriate linkages and stuff. And so the same thing works there. So it's really about, instead of creating exclusively standalone black box applications, it's about creating the services that allow these things to be integrated in a variety of different applications. So that's an important point.
Scroll up to the top real quick, Rainey. And there's a URL if anybody wants to go take a look at it. You can jump in at msave.org is the direct link to go straight to this page, and away you go. Okay. You forgot the N.
MN save?
Yep.
Oh, min save. All right.
There you go. We'll get you there. Okay. Next on the hit list is kind of finishing up the training piece. Under works, Randy is on the hot seat to complete the GIS intern program development to support local production of USNG maps. We need an instructional couple of things there.
Well, regarding training, Steve, we've talked about leveraging this WLIA conference to record a U.S. National Grid introductory session.
Yep.
I mean, there's one out there that I did for what is it? The National Geospatial Alliance, NSGIC. But this could just be focused. Really, I've given intro to U.S. National Grid so many times. Wanted to record it. We're going to leverage the WLIA conference to do that.
Okay. Next on the list there is, I've already mentioned it with regard to that Dallas County, Iowa project. It's really important that we develop something that how to talk to the emergency service sector to get them what they want and the other way around for the GIS person, that engagement piece with the sheriff down there in Dallas County so that they can effectively figure out what questions need to be asked and what elements need to be made known about their GIS capability and what the emergency services sector wants so they can properly construct an RFI. And I think that actually takes us up to just short of time for Joseph to jump in here. So, well, that brings us to the point in the program where it says 3:10 open floor. So here we go. Who's got what?
Joseph again here.
Yeah.
Following up on the reference to national parks, I just want to let people know that I'm in the process of producing one GIS surfer map for each national park with, of course, multiple GIS layers people can turn on, off, and what all. And the USNG grid can be displayed on that. And I was surprised when I started that project that I don't think anybody else has done that yet. And so when anybody in this group is talking to national park folks, you can mention that to them if you want to.
Will there be a link or what's the plan there? I didn't quite follow that. Go ahead.
What the plan is, there will be one GIS surfer link for each park. Now, how I'm going to publish or promote those links is still a mystery to me.
So the answer is you will provide further information in the future. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. What else we got out there?
Steve, this is BJ. I just wonder if Joseph could share his outline that he had up there so that we could practice with it.
Yeah, I'd like to get that too.
Sure. Let me send that to Steve as a PDF file, and he can send that out. How's that sound?
The other way you can do it is you can also info the USNG implementation Google address, and it'll get put up.
I was just going to say I'll put it up there. I'll put it on the Google group.
That works. Less work for me always works. What else we got out there? Anything else? Wow. Everybody wants to get back to the grind in their house, huh? All right. Well, we will continue to push things forward as best we can. If you have topics or catch items that are just kind of out there floating around, just like I mentioned with Joseph here, please, by all means, think about sending it as an info to the entire group through the use of that Google board, because it's set up so that it gets posted there and then gets distributed the next day or the next week, depending on what kind of service people have signed up for, um, for distribution on that. And I think that's the most effective and efficient way to get out the word, because sometimes I'll get bogged in down on something for a week or so before I'll be able to come back and clean up things for us.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure everybody's aware, we have a state emergency preparedness committee that talks about a variety of issues, and U.S. National Grid is one of them, and participation in this work group is a part of that. But we're always looking for a presentation for an educational portion of that meeting. We can kind of throw it out here, Steve. I mean, maybe Joseph would be a good presentation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If anybody has any ideas about a topic for, 45 minutes. I know Major Tom's done presentations for us. That's been really great. But if anybody has any ideas, we'd certainly like to hear it. But, maybe Joseph is a good one.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy to help. I don't know if I can fill 45 minutes.
Well, you may be talking to people that have never seen GIS Surfer before. Likely.
Well, true, and I gave a pretty high level deal today. I can, provide some more detail, and there's some things to learn about walking through server's table of contents. It'll help folks.
Okay.
It's a pretty robust application, that's for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll
let me know if you want to, want me to think about that some more and do anything.
Appreciate it, Joseph. Let me circle back around on that. Talk to the EPC leadership group, see what they're thinking, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Does that work?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. No reason to drag this out. Goals before next meeting, if we're all done with the open floor. Going once, going twice, going 3 times on the open floor. Okay, there you go. Goals before the next meeting. What do we got out there that needs to get done? So I'm going to connect with Daryl after this. We'll consider the issue of Joseph for the EPC meeting as a way of helping spread the word on GIS Surfer and what it can do for you, particularly with regard to U.S. National Grid. And then we've got our past list of items that still need to get knocked down. And what else out there is there? Anything? Going once? Going twice? Oh, we're going to have Mary Susan, maybe Doug, to just at least get them to know everyone on the possibility of the new FEMA director. Again, we don't have any real vision there other than just trying to make sure there might be some crosstalk. And then we got the issue of Brian Much and BJ having a little bit of a coordination thing. We'll see what we can do about getting things rolling along a little bit better in Wisconsin.
This is BJ. Steve, Brian, I sent you my email in the chat to see if you just want to answer back, and we can skip Steve and just connect emails.
I think he may have dropped off. Oh, no,
he's I'm here. I'll look for it in the chat.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. And with that, anything else? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And we'll be talking to you in a period of 3 months from now. Check your schedules. Does April 28th work, or did I miss something? This is like literally the first time we've never had Al in here. I wonder, hope he didn't get run over by a truck or is in the hospital. April 28th, Randy, what do you think?
At 1:00 Central.
Yep.
Yeah, every time I get into I think it's quarterly, we have an all staff meeting from 1 to 2. If you can do it at 2, that works better for me. 2 Central.
Okay. How about the week prior,
That should be fine.
April 21st? Go down the list. Brian, would April 21st work for you? Daryl?
Yes, that's good.
Bruce?
Yes.
Doug?
Sure.
Major Tom from Ground Control.
Yes, that'll work.
Okay, good. Mary Susan?
All right.
All right. BJ?
Good.
Okay, we'll do that. Fennis, Ron, are you guys good?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask too if I can get added to the listserv or whatever for the mailing list.
Yeah, I'm negligent, I admit it. I'll get you on there, Fennis. Thanks. Another thing for me out on the list to do. I can get that.
Hey, really quick, just so everybody's aware, you can't copy and paste from the Zoom chat. So you're exchanging contact information, and unless somebody's going to type it in someplace or write it down real fast, that's not going to work very well. You need to come up with
Okay, that was me. Thank you.
Yeah, you need to come up with another way for sharing contact info. It's a security thing.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yep.
I was trying. Hey, Tom, write that down real quick. Did you see it? I sent it to Tom and Steve right quick in case you need it, so I can get you the Georgia contact for CAP.
Okay, I'll look right now. It's in the chat.
I got
Yeah, I
it.
just sent.
Randy, I was able to do it, so I'm wondering if
you were.
Yeah,
I just did it too. I just copied, and I could hit a return to chat to everybody, but I was able to copy the D Mitchell. Paste it.
Okay.
Same here.
All right.
Okay, well,
sorry.
Zoom should let us do CFD attachments. They'll get there someday. So we can just,
Yeah. Well, okay.
stagger
You know
our
what?
contacts.
It's my Zoom because I'm using the Zoom application. It's a Dakota County security thing.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
cool.
Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, so April 21st it is. Thanks everybody for your attention, and have a great week, and don't get that COVID thing before you get the shot. All right.
Got both of mine.
Oh, you lucky dog. All right.
Get a shot on Saturday.
All right.
See you, bye.
BJ, you still with us?
I am. Yep.
Okay, we'll end this call, and I'll send you forward for just a straight up meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.